What's good, everybody? It's your boy Tico on Blitz, back at it again with another video. And today we are going to be taking a look here at the brand new Tier 8 Soviet Collector Heavy, the K-2, a vehicle that which you can earn from the brand new Rewind event that has been introduced into the game. All you have to do, grind your way to level 14 right here, or just buy the standard kit, which will unlock you 10 levels. For the purpose of this video, I have decided to spend the $12 that it would take in order to access that kit, in order to get to the vehicle and showcase it for that matter. However, if you're like a particular no-life who plays this game all day pretty much, unlike myself, then you can happen to get a Caro 45 ton for that matter, if you want to put in any of the unnecessary hours for that matter of fact, and try to get your hands on this vehicle. I would not recommend it, especially for the fact that the Crafting Kit Pro is $42 just for 25 level skips. I would not assume that that is worth it. But on the other hand, for the purpose of today's video, we are going to specifically talk about this beast. So, if we go ahead and make our way over to the stats, we can see that the front of its turret has upwards of 240, and the front of its hull is upwards of 260. And apart from the armor profile, as we can take a look at this next, from its belated brother, the IS-3, you can see that there are plenty of troll spots that occur within the vehicle. Like a giant upper plate that is extremely thick, upwards of 290 millimeters thick. A giant turret, on the other hand, pretty much the same length as the hull, really thick as well, upwards of 380 to 390 millimeters thick. And apart from the weak spots, small cheeks that occur within the side of the gun mantlet, this side upward 241. The same goes for this small cheek right here, and other very small cheeks that are going to be very tricky hits for that matter. And we also have very small upper portions of the turret right here that can be easily overmatched, having upwards of 150, and then a big old lower plate right here, upwards of 160. However, this vehicle, when angled, is pretty much the same design as that of an IS-7 brought down in Tier 8, because now you can overmatch the angled portion of the upper plate, having upwards of 216, and the same accounts for the other side as well. And especially when running calibrated shells on this tank, you still can't cut through it with standard ammo, considering that it's still too thick in order to be overmatched, even running the APCRs for that matter of fact. The tank also carries 7 degrees of gun depression, used to be the T-62A's same level of gun depression until it got nerfed within the previous update. Now it sits at 6. This is what the vehicle would look like hull down. The cheeks right here are about the same, even for those small hatches right there for that matter. So then if we go ahead and take a look at the side of the vehicle right here, the turret right here, upwards of 206, pretty trolls, straightforward up. Very troll spots that occur within the front portion of the side, and then the full-on side pretty much is going to be easily overmatched. And then finally the rear of the vehicle, especially really thick, considering only 89 to 92 on the back of the turret. Then the full-on rear, surprisingly enough, 90 to 100. HE's not vulnerable to cut through the back of this vehicle as it is too thick. The tank also has a very powerful gun, but a really poor reload of 13.49 seconds, especially when you're running calibrated shells. Because, surprisingly enough for this vehicle, its premium is upwards of past 300, which is actually really insane for a heavy at Tier 8. So, speaking of the other average pen, 248 on the standard, along with 75 on the high explosive, combined also with a pretty solid damage factor, 400 on the standard, 340 on the premium, and 500 on the high explosive, combined with a 6.4 second aiming time with 0.3 dispersion evenly. And then finally, maneuverability-wise, the tank goes at a top speed of 32 with a reverse of 13, with a pretty reasonable power to weight of 14.8. So we are going to get into a couple battles here and see what this vehicle can go forth apart from its playstyle. It seems that there is a bit of a mixture of a couple vehicles within the design of this vehicle. It actually looks pretty much like the body of an IS-4 brought down at Tier 8, and then a turret that kind of looks a little similar. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Object 257 or what is it? I think it is the 27s. Or probably one of those for that matter. Or no, it was the 705A. That's what it was. If you guys are familiar with the Object 705A, that is what I could kind of picture this turret to be like. Anyways, here we go. We are on Desert Sands for that matter of fact, so we are going to see how we can fare well in this battle. I can already see we've already reached our top speed. It's not necessarily that bad, but pretty much not the top speed to what I expect to get into the front line within a matter of seconds. But anyways, we are just going to make our way over to base A for that matter of fact, see if we can get some solid chunks of damage dealt into some of these enemies that decide to push on over towards base A for that matter. So let's see what ends up poking on out. So it looks like that we have a KV-3 spotted off to the side right there. We also have another vehicle that's spotted. It's the T-77 for that matter of fact. So let's see how we can do. All right, the KV-3 is going to poke on out, so which gives me the opportunity to miss the first shell. Unfortunate upon that behalf. So we're just going to go ahead and put on our fast reload, see if we can get a quick slap into this KV-3 for that matter. So we're going to reload 3, 2, 1. Get a nice chunk. There we go. 431 damage dealt onto that enemy KV-3. So we're going to reload once again. Hopefully he is still out in the open by the time we reload our clip, which it appears it's going to be the case. There we go. A little bit of a low roll, but that is okay for a 400 damage alpha. So I can't complain. It was pretty reasonable chunk of damage dealt into him for that matter. You got a Sue off in the side, so we're going to reload. We're going to see if we can get a nice solid chunk of damage dealt into him. There we go. 403 shot into the SU. So we're just going to reload once again. He really can't do anything with us at the moment, as he is clearly not eyeballing us, and he is finished off. All right, so we got a T-77 off to the side, too. I do want to do my best to take care of him, as he is a potential threat with that deadly 2-shell clip. So there he goes, already dumping his shells out into our ally 45 TP. So here is the enemy T-77. We're just going to mosey on up just a little bit. Get a nice solid chunk for a nice max roll of 500 damage. So we're just going to go ahead, reload once again. Probably not going to get the clearing shot into him, which is clearly okay. So we're just going to go ahead, reload, and he gets finished off in the process. Unfortunate, but that is clearly fine. We got a couple more enemies that are off towards the back right there. We can clearly see the Skoda right there. Let's see. Unfortunately, my ping factors did lead to me thinking about firing the shot, but he is going to poke on out here in just a couple seconds. Unfortunate, he does get cleared, but that is clearly fine. We're just going to continue moving on more towards the last two enemies. I know that the Predator is off towards base C, so there he is for that matter. Let's see. Can I get a nice shell into his hatch for that matter? We can. 428 shot into you. And we are already breaking forth past the 2,000 damage mark, which is pretty solid. So now all that's left is this enemy Panther 2. Don't really care about taking the base for that moment, so there is the enemy Panther. Oh, unfortunately. You can see that the only downside to this vehicle is that aiming time does not really factor into the gun on this vehicle, considering of how high damage alpha that is. But I can't complain. It was a very solid game, considering that we broke past 2,000 damage, and we were able to pull a third class while at it, along with doing top on the team. Pretty solid game if I'm not going to be mistaken. So we are going to go ahead and get into a second game. So, upon that battle, nobody really wanted to take any chances upon this vehicle for that matter, considering that the armor is extremely thick, especially for a brand new vehicle like this. So, probably if there's going to be a couple people grinding this vehicle, probably within the next couple days or so, and they decide to get their hands on it, it's really going to be a troubling factor for like any of the new players that come across this vehicle on the battlefield. So anyways, here we are in our second battle. Let's see what they got against us. They have a T-28 prototype, an IS-152, an IS-3, a T-32, and a Smasher, along with an IS-2 in terms of heavies. So a pretty reasonable lineup that they have, so I am going to see how I can fare well against some of these enemies. I do, however, want to showcase the armor profile and see if I can get some potential bounces off of some of the enemies, because that's what specifically this tank is known for, is having very godly amounts of armor, especially for a tier 8 heavy at that matter. So anyways, we're just going to make our way over towards mid right here, see what ends up poking on out, as a matter of fact. Alright, so we're just going to continue going over towards this side right here. We're going to poke on out a little bit over towards the hill right here, see what ends up going. Got that IS-3 already off in the side right there. Let's see if there's some enemies that come over towards middle. I don't really know if that's going to be the case. So the majority of enemies are spotted. We do have a T-28 prototype right there. And there we go. We are able to get a nice HE into the rear of that T-28 prototype. It was a bit of a low roll, but I can't complain. It was a pretty reasonable chunk of damage dealt into him. So he is going to continue moseying on through. Unfortunately, we don't have the reload time in order to get another shell into him. So it looks like all their enemies are over here, and it looks like some of my allies are falling apart at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go all the way behind and see if I can take care of this T-28 prototype before he causes any trouble towards my allies. Oh my goodness, this does not look good at all. So we're just going to try to do the best that we can upon this battle. Anyways, we're just going to mosey on right behind some of these enemies back here. We got that T-32 right over there. Not able to spot him at the moment. There is that T-28 prototype yet again. His rear is facing right at us. So we're going to go ahead. There we go. Another low roll, 469, but can't complain. Still doing my job at the moment. Got that T-32 spotted off in the back too. Hopefully he is going to remain still for the time being, as I do want to get another chunker of HE right into his rear right there. There we go. That's a solid roll. 559 into him. And oh my goodness, this does not look good. We are getting absolutely buttered out here, for that matter of fact. So anyways, let's see. The T-32 does realize that we're all right back here. Got that T-28 prototype spotted right there. So I do want to aim in. Oh, never mind. The T-32 gets finished. Unfortunately, the shell did miss. So I do want to be careful because some of the enemies will push over towards the right side. I do guarantee that. So we're just going to hope for the best in this one. All right, so we got the IS-2 off in the back right there. We're going to aim in on him if my team doesn't end up being such. All right, so we're going to... Again, the aiming time on this vehicle, it's not the best. Apparently, that's like 3 shells in a row apart from this battle where they've hit the ground. We got the Lancen off in the back, and then we got the IS-2 right there. There we go, 378 shot into you. Looks like the Rue is going to die from that ISU, which is not ideal. So we're just going to continue holding these guys off to the best of our ability. Oh, and we look like we got some more enemies coming in. There we go, another nice shell. Looks like the T-28 prototype gets a nice chunker of shells into me. Oh my goodness, this does not look good. So the only thing I can really do is I can focus in. Okay, never mind, I cannot focus in on that guy. But what I can do is get a nice solid chunk of damage dealt into that guy, for that matter. So here comes the ISU now, and it looks like I'm probably going to die in the process. Wow, he actually missed that shell, which is actually unfortunate. Well, I can't really do anything. I'm just going to get the clear into the IS-3 for that matter. So anyways, yeah, this is pretty much a loss for that matter of fact. I can't complain. That was my team's fault upon them not holding to the best of their ability. And unfortunately, pushing right behind the enemies did not seem to help, for that matter of fact. So we did another 2 grand in this one, 27-47. We were able to block 18-25 for that matter. And oh my goodness, that did not turn out to the outcome to what I expected. Unfortunate upon our team's behalf, but I am going to do one more to demonstrate yet again the positive factors that lead to the K-2, apart from that stupid aiming time. Apparently, the shells did not fly exactly to where I was aiming. You can already tell pretty much for the majority of your battles that if shells do not fly exactly to where you're aiming, you know you're already screwed, for that matter of fact. Unless if your team decides to pick up the pace a little bit and then decide to outmaneuver the enemies. You know what I mean. So anyways, we're going to make it into our 3rd game right here. Hopefully we do turn out to the better outcome from last battle and see how we can do. So anyways, let's see what they got. They have another ISU-152. I think it's the same one from last battle. We also have a Tiger P. They have an IS-3 again. It might be the same lineup, but oh, I do not want to go over towards the right side, because that is instant death. So anyways, let's just go ahead and make our way with some of our teammates right over there and see how we can fare well. I don't know what our Tiger is doing at the moment. So there is an enemy P-43 already spotted off towards the side right there. So we're just going to try to make it to the front line as quick as we can, although this tank does not have the best of maneuverability. So anyways, let's see how we can do. Majority of their enemies are over towards caves, which is good. So that means that probably only maybe 1 or 2 vehicles will probably attack base C for that matter. Got that IS-3 spotted out in the open right there. Again, the aiming time. Very unfortunate that that shell managed to bounce off of the IS-3 for that matter. So we're just going to remain put right here. That IS-3, I don't know what his plan is exactly, as I'm going to just load in a heat shell. Fortunately, can't pen his turret for that matter, so I'm just going to continue moving on forward. So that J Panther 2 looks like he was taking down a pretty solid chunk of his hit points for that matter. So we're just going to continue moseying on forward with some of our other guys right here. So we got that J Panther right there. He is spotted for that matter. Oh, here comes the IS-3 poking on out. Not able to get a shell into him at the moment. There is that J Panther right there. I do want to see if I can get a finishing shell into him or not. I love when tanks just decide to move back and forth. Just be those typical weirdos that do that. It's just that strange mindset that I have, which I don't know why I tend to do that. So anyways, I'm just going to move forward towards this IS-3 right here. We're going to get a nice chunk for 368 into his vehicle. We're going to put ourselves in a scrape right here. There we go. We do get a bounce off of the enemy IS-3. He does seem to be a pretty terrible player, if I'm not going to be mistaken, which gives us the opportunity to get another shell into him. And that ISU is off in the back. Like, what the heck, man? That's a good way to support your team for that matter. So anyways, we're just going to continue moseying on forward and get some solid chunks of shells into this enemy ISU for that matter. He is going to aim in on me, or probably not for that matter, so we're going to go ahead. Wow, that is a very strange bounce, Wargaming. Alright, so anyways, I can't complain. We're just going to continue moving forward. He is running the stock gun, which means that he is not a very solid player at that. So we are able to get the finishing shell into him. And we are going to make our focus on some of these enemies right back over here. They have 3 enemies left, a P-43, a Stayer Waffentrager, and a Tiger P, which all seem to be full health as they tried to flank. And it didn't really work out to the best of their advantage. So anyways, we're just going to go ahead, focus in on these enemies, just run straight on in because I know this tank's armor is absolutely impervious to some of these enemies right here, as a matter of fact. There is that P-43. We're just going to go ahead. Fortunately, not going to be able to spot him at the moment. We're going to move on up just a little bit. We got that Tiger P off to the side right there. Don't want to aim in the shell because I'm afraid it's going to whiff. So we're just going to mosey on up just a little bit. There's the Stayer right there. We're going to get, there we go, a 501 HE into his vehicle. We're just going to continue moseying on through right here. We're going to capture the base. So there we go. There is the P-43 right here. Let's see if we can get an HE into the rear of him. There we go, 478 into his vehicle. And all that's left is the enemy Tiger P. So we're just going to remain focused on him. See if we can get the clear into his vehicle before the time runs out. And he does get an ammo rack, surprisingly enough. Well, I can't complain. That was another 2,000 damage game. Didn't really turn out to the outcome to what I expected, but we did manage to get some pretty solid bounces off of some of the enemies. Well, just for an IS-3 for that matter. Okay, I take that back. But anyways, another 2,400 damage game. Second on the team, but I can't complain. The K-2 did its job, as a matter of fact. But anyways, hopefully you guys did end up enjoying today's video. And if you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And make sure to turn on those bell notifications while at it so you don't miss out on any new videos. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace out, y'all.